Good afternoon, students. This is the Web Technologies training program, and today's lesson is JavaScript functions and arrays. Mainly we are trying to focus on functions and arrays topic in JavaScript language. In the previous lessons we have understood the JavaScript basics, variables, operators and control statements. In the today's lesson we are trying to understand mainly functions and arrays. So, one of the primary topics of the JavaScript is two topics, functions and arrays. So, when you go to further advanced concepts, so you will listen three words majorly very commonly: functions, array and object. So, the future topics will be, okay, this is the predefined function, this is user defined function, predefined array, user defined array, or predefined object, user defined object. This type of terminology will be repeated in future. So, let us try to understand functions and arrays today. Objects will be understandable in the next lesson. So, today let us first focus on functions. What is function? A group of statements to achieve some particular task. So, I want to do some calculation, I want to do some processing, I want to do something in the program. In order to achieve some calculation or some functionality, some steps will be there. Statement 1, statement 2, statement 3, n number of statements in order to achieve a particular goal. So, the set of statements to achieve some specific program is called as a function. For example, I want to add the two numbers. What are the steps for this? I want to accept the first number, accept the second number, perform the addition and store the result in a variable and display the value to the user. So, all these steps we have to perform in a sequential manner. So, this can be done with the help of a function. Similarly, I want to calculate area of the circle or simple interest or some EMI amount for the loan. Any kind of calculation can be done based on some steps. These steps, these sequential steps group is nothing but what? Functions. So, in order to create the function, we have to use the function keyword followed by the function name. The function can receive the input values, those are called parameters. For example, I want to perform the calculation of simple interest. So, for this three values required, P, N, R. I want to calculate area of the circle, I require the radius value, R value. Like this, to perform the calculation of the function, whichever the input values are required, those are to be called as parameters. And after completion of the operation, whichever the output you want to provide or result you want to provide, the output can be called as return value. So, 3 points about the functions. Function is a group of statements. Function can receive input values as parameters. Functions can provide the return value as output. So, these are the three major points about the functions. So, let us understand how to create the functions practically now. So, have a look at once. Function is a group of statements that can be called any number of times. Functions are programmed into multiple parts. Each part is a function. Function is a group of statements. Function can be called many times. Function is used to divide the large program into multiple parts. Each individual part is a function, and function can receive input values as parameters. Function can provide output value as return. Function is a named set of statements. Functions will not be executed automatically. When we create the function will not execute automatically. We have to call. Functions must be called in order to execute it. Functions are reusable. That means we can call the same function any number of times, n number of times. So in order to create the function, what we have to follow is that function. First we have to say that we are going to create a function. First, this keyword function specifies that we are going to create a function. Function keyword specifies that we are going to create a function. Then followed by, we have to provide the name of the function. Function name we have to provide. In the middle, some statements can be there. So statement 1, 2, 3 and so on. We can provide any number of statements. But remember, function must be called, then only it will execute. In order to call the function, we have to repeat the function name above with the brackets and followed by semicolon. This is the statement that will invoke or execute the function. So when we call the function, what exactly happens is, from here it will go to the function definition. It will execute all these set of statements, whatever present here, one after another. After completion of all these statements execution, it will just continue where it is came from. So it will just go back to the same place from where it is originally called. That means it is coming back to the calling portion. So we have a function. So the function keyword specifies that we are going to create a function. Name of the function is this one, and brackets you can keep. So it's a collection of statements. So when we execute the function, go to the function definition, execute all the code and come back to the same portion, same calling portion. This is about the functions. And in a program, we can create any number of functions. A function can have any number of statements, and a function can receive any number of parameters but can return only one value. And a function can be called any number of times. If you don't call the function will not execute. Compulsory we have to call it. So function is a group of statements. We have to call it many times, as many as you wish. Let's see an example how to create the function. So I am taking a simple HTML program, as we know already. HTML head body is the same. File name functions.html. Location is C:javascript. Okay, so HTML head body is the same. Topic name functions, meta char set is equal to UTF-8. Hey browser, I'm using Unicode format. So just we have a heading of functions, and I'm just writing function. Function name can be anything, for example, say hello. Here the function keyword specifies that we are going to create a function, then space, then we have to provide actual function name, that is say hello. And here we have the actual code. So I'm just writing console.log of hello to all. So just execute this. Inspect element console. Now we can notice the function is not executed. Even though we have created the function will not execute by default until you call it. Remember, we have to call the function, then only it executes. If you don't call, it will not execute. Presently, as of now, we are not called the function, that's why it's not executed at all. We have to call the function, so by giving its name followed by brackets and semicolon. So from here, it will go to the function definition and execute all the statements and come back to the same place from where it is originally called and go to the next further statements. So this process repeats every time when you invoke the function. So as of now, we have called it only one time, so we got that message. and also I want to call the same function many times. So, I am just repeating the same. So, the same message we have got 3 times. It is showing 3 here, notice, which means that we got the same message 3 times. Okay, so we have created the very simplest function and we have called the same many times, as many as you wish. Now, let us make some complex program. For example, I am just saying that country, name of the function country, here console.log of India. So, function country is the name of the function, India is output that we are trying to display, and we are calling the same many times. Okay, we are trying to display like this. Next, so we have another function. For example, we are trying to display the output Andhra Pradesh, and we are trying to call the same function like this. Now, have a look at once. First, we are trying to display India, next India, again India, then Andhra Pradesh, then again India, then again Andhra Pradesh. So, India is being printed 3 times, then AP, then India, again AP. So, as long as you call the function, the same function gets executed repeatedly. So, we have called it 3 times, country function has called 3 times. So, it has called 3 times, so we got the same message 3 times. And then we called state function. So, we got the state message and then country. So, we got the country output and then again state. So, we got the state. So, like this we can create any number of functions and we can call the same many times. And also we can do one thing, we can call one function from another function. For example, I will show a separate thing. So, calling function in other function, we are going to create one function, we are going to call one function from other function. Suppose I am just calling country function only, but I am calling state function from here. So, the output will be like this. So, first we got India and then AP. The reason, first from here the execution starts. Okay, from here it will go to the function country. So, inside this country, so we are just displaying the message of India. So, output is India, and then we are calling state. So, from here it will go to state function, then we got the message of AP. So, here it will print AP in the output, I mean full name will be displayed, then it will come back to the same calling portion from where it is originally called. So, like this, from one function to other function we can call. We have called a state function inside country function right now. So, next example is that we can pass the parameters to the function. So, whichever the input values that you are going to pass to the function, those are called parameters, and whichever the output value we are getting back, that you have to call it as return. So, I just have something like okay, just we have a function called add. I want to add the 2 numbers. So, add is the name of the function. Okay, add is the name of the function. This function wants to add the 2 numbers, but which numbers we have to pass, right? We have to pass the input values. So, I am just receiving 2 values. So, I am assuming that I got 2 numbers. I am declaring one more extra variable, I mean local variable called c equal to a plus b. We have added the numbers, and we have stored the result in a variable, then we can give back the same value. Generally, just like a human being, so a person receives some inputs, do some process, provide the output. Here also the function receives the parameters, that is a and b, doing the calculation of a plus b, returning the result value of this one. But remember one point, if you don't call the function, it will not execute at all. As you have not called the function in this example, the function not executed, so we have not got any output from this. So now we are calling add, we are supplying some values, for example 40 and 50. The value 40 will go to a, 50 will go to b. So c equal to a plus b, that is 40 plus 50, 90. The value 90 has been stored in the variable called c, then displaying the same in the output. So we got the value 90. So but the 90 is not being printed in the console. The reason, from here the value we just get back, but we have not diverted to anywhere. That means we are not receiving into, catching into any variable, or we are not passing the same to console. So we can do one thing, we can just say console.log of the particular value whatever we have received. So now this returned value will come to this add place once again, and the same value whichever you have got will be given to console.log. So console.log will simply print the output, that is 90 is output finally. So check there. So we have got 90. So like this we are able to pass parameters, that is 40 and 50, and we can receive the written value. One more thing we can do, we can store that written value in a result variable, and then we can print the same. So directly you can use console.log, or we can receive into some variable and then we can print the same. It is up to you. So now also we got the same output. So with variables is a better approach instead of printing directly. Storing the value inside a variable is better approach in real time point of view. Okay, we have understood how to work with the arguments, parameters and return value. Next, so sometimes what happens is that you may pass any number of values, you really don't know how many values you are trying to receive. Then we have to use arguments. So sometimes you really don't know how many values that you are receiving. Let's say for example, for the first time when you are calling add function, we are passing 2 values. Next time we are passing so many values. You really don't know how many values will come here. We are receiving different number of values. Okay, so can you guess what type of values are coming here? No, we cannot guess. Then we have to use something called arguments. So variable called arguments, then we are getting the current working arguments. For the first time it is showing the first value, that is 40 and 50. Next time it is showing 19 and this, all these values whatever we have received. So whenever you don't know how many values you are receiving, we can just use arguments. So we can also print like arguments of 0, arguments of 1 and so on. We can also print a specific particular values. But if you don't know how many values you have received, then you can do one thing. For loop you are trying to use, for where I equal to 0, I less than arguments dot length I plus plus. So we are trying to give the I value. Here with the help of for loop, what I am trying to do, we are trying to read and print all the values. let me add a separator line. Okay, so each time, every time when you pass the new value, it is reading and printing all the values whatever you have supplied, right. This is how to work with the arguments. So here arguments keyword is representing all the values that you have received from the calling portion. So whenever you know the exact number of values that you are receiving, use these variables, parameters. Whenever you don't know how many values you are receiving, use arguments keyword. Okay, that is a conclusion. Next, so we have understood the topic of functions. So function is a group of statements. Function is used to perform some calculation or process, and the functions can be called many times. Functions are fundamentally reusable. We can call the same function many times. There is a function, we can call the same function from the beginning of the program, middle of the program, end of the program. From different places we can call the function. So this is what we have understood about functions. The next topic is arrays. Array means group of values, multiple values. Whenever you have a list of values to store, we have to use for arrays. For example, we have a list of persons, list of friends, list of cities, list of countries, list of anything, any list of names, a list of numbers, any kind of group of values we have, then we have to consider it as an array. So array is a group of values of any data type. In some programming languages, arrays means should be strictly containing same type of values. For example, in C language, okay. So in C language array, all the values should be same data type, but in JavaScript there is no such a restriction. We can store any type of values. We can store combination of numbers, strings, Boolean values, any type of values group can be stored inside the JavaScript arrays. So at the same time, in some other programming languages, once an array is declared with some particular number of values, it is very difficult or sometimes impossible to add the new values. In some programming languages, an array is declared with some 10 values, for example. Later, it is not possible or maybe most difficult to add the new value or removing existing value, but in JavaScript, it is highest level of reusability and highest possibility of customizing or working with the arrays. That means we can add the new value at any point of time, we can remove the value at any point of time, we can insert the value in the middle of the array, we can do anything, we can do any manipulation on the arrays. So JavaScript array supports adding, inserting, removing 3 activities any number of times at any point of time from the beginning to end of the program. So let's try to understand how to work with arrays practically here. So check it out. So arrays. Array is a group of values. So array representation is like this, square brackets. So we have value 1, value 0, value 1, value 2 and so on. So many values are available. So for every value some index will be automatically maintained. Index starts from 0. Here 0, 1, 2 etc. are the indexes. Because based on the index we are able to point out the exact value. For example, based on the index 0 we can point out the value 0 and so on. We can just pass the index to reach to a particular value. So let's try to understand how to work with the arrays. So in the program, just we have created arrays, and to declare the array, fortunately the easiest syntax, just and just simple, we have to provide this empty square brackets. So the square brackets is a blind symbol of array. So wherever you see this particular brackets, square brackets, we have to consider it is an array. So we have an array, but it has no values. Length is 0, which indicates no values are there. We can add the values any number of times at any point of time. So we are trying to add some values. No restriction of giving sequential values, no restriction of giving the incremental values. We can give any values, any numbers, any strings in any order, anything we can store, any number of values. So no any kind of restrictions here. Just only the syntax is value 1, comma value 2, comma value 3 and so on. Just comma we have to provide. So except that no other restrictions. Any values we can store. So just we have given a simple array with 4 values. Index is 0 to 4. I mean 0 to 3 only. Length is 4. But I want to print the value at position 0. So we can just add 0. Then 2, 3. So we are able to print the respective values. Okay, we are able to get exact value based on the index. That's fine and well and good. But the problem is, every time when you repeat this particular syntax in the system point of view, it's like a new array. So we are repeating the same syntax totally 5 times here in this program. So technically it's equal to 5 arrays. Do you really mean that to create the 5 arrays? No. You want to create only one array, but you want to access the same array many times. Then what will you do is that we are trying to declare a variable. The variable name can be anything. In this variable, we are going to store the address or reference of the array. Then we can access the array based on the variable. Any point of time when you want to access the particular value, we can simply give the variable name, that is a. So we have just given a of 0, a of 1 and so on. Any time when you want to access the particular array, we can give like this. So output is same, but technically here there are no 5 arrays, there is only one single array available. But instead of repeating the same syntax of console.log many times, we are able to print it with the help of a loop. So for loop, where I equal to 0, I less than a dot length, I plus plus. So we are just printing the same values. Here in this for loop, what is the benefit is that even though in future the number of values increased, so we have just added some more number of values in future, we need not add any kind of changes to this particular for loop. Here it is printing all the values. A dot length, length means the number of values, the count of values, how many values present here, the count will be taken automatically. For example, here it has 7 values, so in this place 7 will be substituted automatically. So it will execute up to 6 because we have given less than, right? So I value will never be become 7. So I value will be taken as 0 to 6, means I value 0, the code executes once, I value 1, again the code executes, I value 2, again the code executes up to 6, like this. This is how to work with the arrays. Next, I want to find out the sum of all these numbers. So what you can try to do, we can add a custom logic. We can take a variable like 0 and we can say sum is equal to sum plus a of I. We are adding each value into the sum variable. Then we are trying to print the sum value. So we are trying to concatenate sum is, then sum value. So it is 365. Okay. Now I want to find out the maximum number of all these things. So I am taking max is equal to 0. I am checking if max is less than a of I, then we have to assign max is equal to a of I. That's all. So finally, by the end of the for loop, the maximum value is available. Like this we can write any custom logic with the help of the arrays. So the maximum value is 100 in this example. So this is the way how to work with arrays. Next, how to add the new value, how to remove existing value. So to add a new value at the end of existing array, just we have to give the array variable name dot push of the new value. So this push is a predefined function which is available only for arrays, which is used to add the new value to the existing array. So based on this array variable reference, it will go to the particular array. In that particular array, at last the new value gets added. So I will show an example for this. So the file name is manipulatingarrays.html. Topic name manipulating arrays. So we have a array variable, that is a. We can give any variable name. Suppose it has 5 values, 10 to 20, 30, 40, 50. There is no rule of giving the sequential numbers. We can give any values as per the requirement. Just for understanding easily, I have given the sequential numbers. Right, now what I want to do in this, I want to add the new value at the end. So at most right side, I want to just add the new value, like suppose 60. So how can we do so? Just we have to add like a dot push of 60. This value 60 will be added to the at the end of existing array, and after adding, the latest output, if you can see, 60 is being printed. Suppose in case if you want to remove the existing value, for example 30, you don't like, you want to remove it. Its index we have to find, that is 0, 1, 2. So 30 index is 2, right? I want to remove the element at the position number 2. So a dot splice of position number 2 and one element you want to remove. So here syntax is index comma number of elements to remove. At the position number 2, how many elements you want to remove? Only one element you would like to remove. So we have something like, okay, we have just removed it, but we have not printed. If you can print the latest value, if you can notice, the 30 gone forever, got removed. In the previous output 30 was there, right? Now in the latest output 30 is not there. So the syntax is index comma number of elements to remove. Okay, let's understand. So removing existing value from the array. Array variable dot splice of index, or you can say count. So starting from this index, these many values will be removed. In case if you want to add new value or insert new value at the middle of array, so just we have to say index comma 0, 0 indicates no values to be removed, then new value we have to provide. At this index, this new value will be inserted. So there is a confusion here. So splice is a common function for removing or inserting. If you want to remove or if you want to insert, for both purposes we have to use the same function splice. Okay, splice has two uses. One is removing, other one is inserting. So if you want to remove the value, we have to just use index comma count. If you want to insert the new value in the middle of the array, we have to just use insert comma 0 comma new value. Here 0 is extra, so this 0 indicates you don't want to remove anything. See, if you want to remove one value, we have given 1, right? but as you don't want to remove the value here, in this case we have to provide like 0. So presently the latest status of the array is like this: 10, 20, 40, 50, 60, 30 got removed, 60 got added. So always consider the latest value, don't think about the original values. So in the based on the latest status of the array, what do you want to do? I want to insert 45, okay, in between 40 and 50, that means here. What could be the new position of the value 45? See, 0, 1, 2, 3. 3 is a position number, right? So we have to give like error's place of position number 3. You don't want to receive you don't want to remove any value, but you want to add 45. Then we are just printing the same. Then we got 45 in between the 40 and 50. At the position number 3, 40 gets added. Okay. So for adding and removing, the same function we can use. This is how to work with the manipulation of arrays, like adding, removing, as well as inserting values. Okay, now I want to pass the array as argument to a function, and I want to do some manipulation over there. So I'm just mixing the arrays and functions 2 in 1. In the same program, we are going to practice arrays and functions. Arrays and functions 2 in 1. So which means that we are going to declare an array. For example, this one. I want to find out the sum of these particular numbers. So in order to do so, I am going to create a function called find sum. Find sum is a suitable name for the function. It is receiving array A. Here A is not a single value, it is an array. So we can go for the sum is equal to 0, then write in the for loop here, because we have to read all the values from the array. Index always starts from 0, I less than a dot length I plus plus, sum equal to sum plus a of I. Initially it's 0, a of I gets added to sum, again next value gets added to sum, and so on. So by the end of this for loop, the sum contains the sum of all these values, and we are trying to return the sum value. And now we are going to call the find sum function, and we are passing the a value. Here this a is different, this a is different. To avoid the confusion, I am giving a different variable name, for example my array. Here there is no relation between the variable a and my array here, just the array reference will be passed from here to here. And whatever this return value we have returned, okay, that value we are receiving into some variable like result, and then we are trying to display the same. So overall the output is the sum of all the values, that is return spelling mistake, return. Okay, now the sum is for 150, which indicates the sum of the values, that is 10 plus 20 plus 30 plus 40 is equal to 150. Okay, so this is the manipulation of arrays with functions. Okay, now let's try to understand the next topic, that is recursion. What is recursion? There is a function, for example, there is a function gets called by itself. So first time we are calling the function from outside. First time we are calling the function from outside. So from here it will go to the function. So as a part of this function, once again we are calling the same function. So then it will come to the same function again. Again we are calling the function. Again it will come to the same function. Again. Repeats. This will cycle. So that's why we have to keep some condition. If the condition is true, then only we have to call the same function. a function calls itself, this is called recursion. Let me show an example. Suppose I want to find out the factorial of a number. So factorial is nothing but, for example, 5 factorial is equal to, that is 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. This total is nothing but the 5 factorial. How do we find out? With the help of the recursion. So 5 factorial is equal to this one, right? So 5 factorial is equal to, okay, so 5 into factorial of 4, right? 4, okay. Four into factorial of 3, right? And 3 into factorial of 2. So how do we solve this? 2 into factorial of 1, and factorial of 1 is 1. So if you can follow these steps, this is nothing but recursion. Okay, let's try to understand the recursion topic. Okay, recursion. So we have a function called factorial, function factorial of n. N factorial is equal to, if n is equal to 1, factorial is 1 itself, right? Otherwise n into factorial of n minus 1. Suppose 5 factorial is equal to factorial of 5 minus 1, that is 4. Then we have to call the function factorial of 5. So for example 5, we can give any other number. So we are getting factorial of 5, that is 120. So how this works? If you are passing 5, it will receive here, then we are checking if it is equal to 1, then we are returning 1. Otherwise 5 into factorial of n minus 1, that is 4. Then it will recall the same function again with factorial of 4. Again we are checking, is it 1? No. Then 4 into factorial of 3. Again we are calling the same function. This time 3. Factorial of 3 is nothing but 3 into factorial of 2. So until it is reached to 1, this process will repeat. Okay, once it is repeats, so once it is reached to 1, it is equal to 1. Okay, so in this way we have repeated, so overall we got the result. So this is about the factorial. So today we have understood about the functions. Functions are used to do some calculation or process. So function is a collection of statements. A reusable set of statements is nothing but function. A function created once can be called many times. We can pass input values, that is called parameters, and we can get the return value, that is called output or return value. And array is a group of multiple values of any data type. We can add the new value by using push, we can remove or insert the value by using splice function. This is what we have understood about the functions and arrays today. In the next class, we are trying to understand another important part, that is objects. Thank you.